How's it going, gang? Video number 3, and as you can see, we've already did the lowering of the body of the car. If you haven't seen that, just check out the video before. This video is probably the more exciting one, if not possibly the most exciting one, if we continue to make these videos of them all, because it is the one topic. How do I make it go faster? One disclaimer here: fast is cool, but it can also just be stupid. So when I'm doing it, I do it within the context of what I feel appropriate, maybe as a good starting point, where we can kind of let this grow as he grows. My intent is not to make this thing a hellraiser and put my son in a situation that any father or any mother would ever want their child to be in. So first things first, we need to baseline it so you guys can understand what we're dealing with. So we're gonna take it out to the cul-de-sac. So here we go, we got our setup, and what we're gonna do is, this is the stock version minus the fact that it's been lowered. And we're gonna do one run up the cul-de-sac and one run down, because typically when you do speed checks, that's the requirement. To make this fair, you could see here I got some sandbags, and it's 40 pounds in total. My son's only 33, but the reason why I wanted to add the sandbags is because I wanted to add weight to it, so that way from a torque perspective, kind of keep it relatively real. Obviously if I didn't have sandbags in there, it would just be its dry weight, which is like about 33 pounds. So the acceleration, maybe the top speed, you know, it would be a little varied. So I'm trying to give the actual number if my son's sitting in there. So I got an app here, not the most technologically advanced setup, but it'll give us a perspective, and all it is nothing more than a speedometer. So we can kind of gauge where we're at. And even though, you know, we got this rudimentary number, I would say one of the things to note, more so than what the actual speed may show, is maybe like the rate that I walk at, because I think that'll be the all-telling tale. Especially that was one of my issues when I would drive with my son, or let my son drive, is I could actually walk faster than this thing, and we'll find out. So let me start the engine. In this case, I'm going to control it with the remote, and we'll go. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. So that was the first run. Just looking at it, it was hovering around 2.2. Again, I think more important is to watch the mannerism by the way I walked. Hopefully you saw that. In this case, what I'll do is I'll have my wife kind of follow behind so you can actually see the speedometer. So let's do that instead. You already saw the way I walked, so let's turn around. And then, if my wife will just stand by and just kind of keep an eye on the speedometer, and we'll just go from there. And we'll go. Here we go. Second run. 3, 2, 1, go. There we go. So again, I was hovering around 2 to 2.2. Let's see if we get about the same thing. So hopefully if you saw on the video there, we were hovering around again about that 2.2 mile mark. So there we go, that's our metric. So let's take it back into the garage, and I'll show you the change that I made to it. We'll see what the end result is. All right, we're back in the garage, got the car flipped upside down. Fundamentally, this is what we're gonna do. We're going to take this apart, and so the big question is, how did I make this car faster? Another motor. I lucked out. I lucked out that given the circumstances that this particular car was made, they used 390 motors, maybe a cost thing, but it works to my advantage because I could just simply put a 550 motor, and I already know I'm gonna get instant speed or faster speed. So I'm gonna go and rip this apart, and then we'll rebuild it, and I will show you that process as we go along. All right, so you can see I took the wheels off. If you were wondering what I was doing over here, I was basically taking two nuts and doing a lock jam because obviously because it's a shaft, right-handed turning nuts, one of them is going to come off before the other. So what I did was this one came off first. If you take two nuts and you screw them on and then you jam the one against the other and hold the outer one in place, then you can release the other. So if you were wondering what the heck's going on, that's all I'm doing is just you're lock jamming the nut to get this other side off. So now that we got that, here comes the fun part. Simply pull these out. And you can see here, that's really it. Now, here's where you get to see the fun or the crucial part. Here's pretty much your motor and your drivetrain structure right there. Again, this is a 390 size motor. This is what I got on Amazon. And you can see it is a very stark contrast between the 390 and the 550 motor. Just from that portion, and to be honest, you don't want to necessarily say just because it's bigger, it would be faster. But, you know, in these kind of scenarios, if not faster, at least you're going to get greater torque. Now, why do I know this is going to be faster? This is a very relative case. I know that when I looked on here, it claimed that the RPMs on here at 12 volts was 16,000 RPMs. This one I bought on Amazon is rated at 12 volts still, but at 40,000 RPMs. What you simply do, and the good news about a lot of this, again, because this is the China faction or the China version, the connector actually already coordinates with it. So you simply just snap it in. In this case, I had pre-wired this. The wire comes detached, so you just have to be mindful. When you plug it in, if it's on the passenger side, you plug it one way, and then if it's on the driver's side, you simply just reverse it. I've already done my homework. That's why I have it labeled with a P, because this is the passenger side, and really, that's it. Now, I'm gonna give it 2 grains of salt here. You could simply just put it in, put the wheel in, call it a day. But what you can see is there's multiple problems here. You can see it's a loose fit, right? That's problematic. So you would have to figure out how to solve that. Otherwise, you're gonna have this super wishy-washy thing. That's a horrible setup. If you notice on the old version, the connecting piece for the wheel or the connection to the wheel is much longer. So they already accommodated it here. And even though it's a great fit, you can see just structurally, it's just slightly different. It's enough for anyone who just bought it off Amazon or the internet that it's gonna require a little bit of modification. On a very high level, very, very high level, a quick solution is this. If you have this exact car, the Lamborghini Aventador Kid Zone, again, aluminum unthreaded spacers, you can slap these bad boys in. They're each 60 millimeters long. If you were to do that and you drop it in, it's a perfect fit, and life goes on, and you're gonna be rolling. If you have a tenacity to be an engineer or hack and do crazy stuff, you can come up with what I designed here. And it is a unthreaded spacer. It is 50 millimeters in length. I put a piece here, which kind of acts as both an offset, but as a spacer, because I wanted to make sure there's enough area here to kind of really hold up against this. And I came up with this little design here. And why did I come up with this design? Is that if you look here, there's this piece or these ribs here, and what my goal was is I actually wanted to design a piece where it fastens into it, kind of locks out. So then that way, as you can see here, as I put it on, you have a piece now that really just kind of solidly fits. So now if you really look at the structure of this thing, it's pretty much more brick tight, but still has kind of the flexibility for the shaft to roll. So again, two 30mm unthreaded aluminum spacers would work great. This here is a 50mm unthreaded aluminum spacer, and I made 3D printed parts. Again, if you're super interested in what the heck I was doing, I'm more than happy to either send you my 3D models, or I can give you more info on how to do that. If you own this particular model, it's let's see, 61. If you need about 58mm total width. So the total width is 50mm. But here's the beautiful thing about it. This is a custom part. The reason why I made it 58mm is because going back to the wheel, I want to look for a certain width. Originally it was 61. And I did 61 because I wanted it so that I didn't have to put a shim on the outside. But what I found was when it was 61mm, the wheel kind of stuck out. And some people like that style. So if you like your wheel sticking out of the fender, more power to you. That's your style, that's your flow. But for me, I kind of wanted to be more tucked in. If you remember on the front, on the second video, I'd actually made my spacer, that front, and I designed it so I could go in 1mm. So in the case of the rear, it's the same drill. And that's why I fast forward. Here we are now in the same situation. And so what I did was I designed it such that with my 58mm little modified doohickey there, and then if I couple it with, again, I got my little 1mm shims so that it's actually going to be 3mm in. I want more of a tuck. And so once I screw everything down, hopefully in theory, the wheels kind of go in a little bit more, kind of gives it a little bit more sleekness, not overbearingly inward, but it should look good. So I'm going to finish the second half, and let's see what's the end result, and let's take a speed recording and conclude. Car's back on the other side. Hopefully you can kind of see the fast forwarding or whatnot, the process. Got the motors in, old ones are out, got the shims in. I think we're set to go. Same setup. We got our 40-pound total to represent my son if he's driving. We'll start it up. We got our very technically advanced way of measuring speed, and we'll do the same thing. One run up, one run back. More importantly, I would say just kind of observe my mannerism as I'm walking. Imagine I'm walking, you know, with my son to go to the playground. Let's see what happens. Got the engine started. All right, here we go. All right, run number one. Make sure the speed's all the way up. Here we go. All right, well, if you just saw that, it was definitely a lot faster than the first one in terms of the duration to go from one end of the cul-de-sac to the other. I looked at it, I was flagging about 4.1, so I pretty much doubled the speed simply by changing the motors. I'm happy with that. I'm not at like 8 or 9, 10 miles per hour because I decided to put 24 volts into this thing. I'm not worried about burning out the motors and stuff now, where it's a brisk walk for me. So you know, my son can enjoy it a little bit more, and I don't feel like, you know, we're just slogging along. So we'll do the second run. Hopefully my my wife is down to do it in terms of chasing down the car, so you can see on our very advanced speedometer system how fast it's really going. This is run number 2. 3, 2, 1. So we just did our 2 runs. Hopefully, if you saw from the videos, we're hovering again 4.1-ish, which pretty much is about double the speed, because if I remember correctly, the original motors are around 2 to 2.2. So I'm happy. The moment my son started driving it at around 4 miles, like, I could already tell he was more excited, seemed to be more engaged with it. If you own a kid's zone, Lamborghini Aventador SV, and you're just looking simply to make it faster, hop on Amazon, buy a 550 motor. They have them in 30, 35, 40,000 RPMs. I would say go right out of the gates 40,000. They're all the same price. You have nothing to lose on that. Because the original motor is already at 16,000 and it's a 390 motor. So my guess is that no matter what RPM motor at a 550 size, it's gonna go faster. You're either gonna get more torque at the beginning, which is nice, or you can maybe get more top end speed. But I would stick with that. So that's pretty much it. Video number 3. If there's any other videos after this, it's probably gonna be more aesthetic. It's pretty solid, you know. And again, because it's the Lambo, you can't go wrong with scissor doors, and so it's legit. So hopefully, again, if we have another video, I will see you guys soon. And until then, have fun.